Well, hello there, family. You're listening to Fired Up Freedom with Steve Ryan. Fired Up Freedom. All right. Do you ever look for certain services or products and it's just hard to find and you want to know if someone else has used that before? Well, visit my resources page, steveryan.com/resources, steveryan.com/resources. We're in multiple places right now. And today we're going to be talking about creating opportunities in your industry. Now, I just want to say, first of all, good morning to everyone. Glad to see you're here. Hope you had an amazing weekend. We did this last week, normally 2 hours before now. I'll explain why we're starting a little bit later today. Later on, but let's just get to business first. I hope everyone is doing well. So basically, the format of how we've been doing this, and it worked out well last week. I have some notes written down. I want to share some thoughts and insights with you, and then I'll invite you to come up. Whoever wants to come up and contribute, it will be awesome. If you want to come up and say something, great. If you don't, that's okay too. We'll end early if you don't. If you do, then we'll let this rock and roll for no longer than an hour. All right. So let's get rock and rolling. Hey, everyone live who can see me, welcome Twitter Spaces, welcome Clubhouse Room, welcome TikTok, welcome LinkedIn, welcome everyone everywhere, welcome all of you. Hope you're doing well. I'll go through your written comments at a later point into it. That way I can just focus on this. And then now, if you want to join in on the conversation, you have two ways to do it. If you actually want to speak, just go to steveryan.com/spaces and look at this icon. You'll see these people in this room right here. This is called Twitter Spaces. You can come on Twitter and talk, and you can also come onto Clubhouse. See, if you see this other phone here, you see all these people in the Clubhouse room. Either one is fine. We're very organized. So it doesn't matter which stage you come on, you will have an opportunity to speak. The only thing I ask is just, keep it cool. So, all right. So when it comes to creating opportunities in your industry, this is what I wrote down. 3 W's, all right? I like to put this into 3 pointers because it's easy to consume. My goal for you today is this: to leave this space, room, live stream, wherever you're consuming this, wherever you're hearing this, to leave this with okay, what action can I take to work toward this? What can I do to provoke thoughts, to give you some ideas? So at least when you leave, you can either get started right away or you can get started brainstorming right away about what you can do to create opportunities in your industry. All right. So the 3 W's I wrote down here is: what are you good at? What's available? And what are some action steps? And what I'm going to do is break down those 3 things, some awesome notes for you. All right. So again, what are you good at? What's available? And what are some action steps? All right, so let's talk about this first one for a little bit. What are you good at? All right, so is there something that people compliment you a lot on? Have you ever heard anyone say wow, you're really good at this, or wow, you really inspired me when you did this or said that? Or do you know something that you find super easy and other people come and say, wow, how did you do that? That just seems so easy. See, these are identifying your strengths. These are identifying things that comes natural and easy for you. Are you passionate about it? Can you bring your passion to it? I was in this Clubhouse room the other day. I forget the gentleman's name. I have to go back and see. But he was like, instead of, how people say, go and find what you're passionate about. He was like, no, bring your passion with you. Bring your passion to wherever you go. And I have to give him some credit for that. I don't remember his name, but I have to give him credit. That's not my line. All right. So maybe some people have given you testimonials about how you've impacted them. The reason why it's important to identify this is so that you know what you're good at. How you're impacting people. Now, for those of you who may not have the confidence yet to realize that you're good at something, that's okay too. Go back and think about what are some things that people have given you some compliments about and gratitude about and have said to you like, wow, you're really good at this. This is why it's important, in my opinion, to write down good things that are happening to you. Yes, you can write down challenges too, because life is about positive and negative, and it's about how do we navigate through those things. So if you don't know where to start and you're like, well, I don't know what I'm good at, then here's something that you can do right now, starting today, moving forward. Anything that you find yourself just doing and it's just so easy to you, like pay attention to that, jot that down. Maybe you can go to your family or friends and say, hey, is there something that you think I'm good at? You know what I mean? And it's not asking for validation. It's just getting people's views, getting help from people to help you identify some things that you may not be good at. I'm sorry, identify things that you may be good at that you may not be aware that you're good at. Like, for example, something that I did, I never saw myself as an audiobook narrator. I didn't grow up saying, hey, I want to narrate audiobooks. But a lot of people have told me like, wow, you have a good voice. Wow, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about doing audiobooks? I remember I was at a networking meeting in like 2012, and that's when that was brought to my attention. And that's when I'm like, well, I never did think about that. So I started to investigate it. I started to research it, which I'm going to get into this on some other topics. And now I've done over 200 audiobooks. I started in 2013. I haven't done any this year or last year or anything like that, but I went heavy like 2013, 2014, 2015. And I still get income from that even to this day. And that's unexpected monthly income. That's just an example. But if I didn't identify it, if someone didn't give me compliments, that may not have been on my radar. Maybe it would have, maybe it would not have. This is why it's important to understand how the feedback that people are giving you. Now, I want to jump off topic for one moment. We're going to be talking about how to set boundaries on tomorrow. And we talked about some energy stuff last week. It's okay to get assessments from people, but where I draw the line is not letting it impact my energy. You get what I'm saying? Not letting people's assessment get you discouraged to the point where it's like, I don't want to do this. You get what I mean? So it can work both ways, but at least you're being exposed to information in case you need more feedback, in case you need more input, in case you need more information, So I think that's a great thing. Now we're going to move on to item number 2, and I'm like halfway done, and then I'll be ready for anyone who wants to come up and contribute to the conversation. Number 2, what's available? Now there's a couple of pieces to this what's available. Number 1 is what it says, to see what's available out there. And I'm going to dive deeper into this. And the second thing is, if something is not available for you, is there an opportunity to create it? If it's not available, will it serve someone? Will your need help someone? So these are some notes that I wrote down. All right. If you want to find out what's available, here are some resources for you. Here are some starting points. Because a lot of times people say, well, where do I get started? I understand all this stuff. I understand, the power of mindset, but I don't know where to get started. This is why I love to always focus on where can you start if you don't know where to start. Now, some of the resources you can do a Google search, and you can search, like, let's say you're in a certain industry. You can search for certain people in your industry. Here's some terms you can use, like, who are some influential people in this industry? Or maybe you can type in the industry and see if any names pop up. Or, who are some top people in this industry? Or who are some experts in this industry? Like, in other words, you can play around with different words to try to come up with names. You see what I mean? And jot those names down. And I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. You can also go on like LinkedIn. I recommend everyone to have a LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is very slept on, but it's a very, very good platform. It's one of the oldest social media platforms, and it's very, very good for when you're trying to actually make good connections. You can go on there and search for different industries, and you can see what names come up. Don't overwhelm yourself. Maybe you can start with like 5 names. And again, I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. You can look for, do these people have any courses, any workshops? Do they have any blogs? Do they have any YouTube videos? Do they have any, TikTok, Instagram, any type of information that's out there? Because as you get involved with in getting information from people in what industry you're looking for, you may come across an idea, and also you can see, like, if they have a mastermind or a workshop, if you can afford to do it, those are ways to get access to people. That's what I did. And I still do it to this day. Like, if I'll go pay for a mastermind or workshop, and that'll give me access to certain people or access to, like, their network. This is how you find out what's going on. This is one of the ways. Also, you have what we're doing now. You have Twitter Spaces, which you guys just saw. You also have Clubhouse. Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse, those are social apps. Like, in a minute, as I'm done with this last point, if you can see here on the screen, you can see all these people in this room here. And then you can see the Clubhouse room. So what's going to happen is, in a minute, I'm going to invite some people to come up, and whoever wants to come up, and you'll hear us exchange. You'll hear them talk, then I'll respond, or someone else may chime in. But this is a way of connecting to people, real-time social media app. Now, TikTok Live is great. That's just more of reading, unless you come onto the live. Like on Friday, we had Gino come into live after we wrapped up the Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse room. Right instantly, Gino came on. We started doing a live conversation on TikTok where you saw us going back and forth and talking. This is how you discover information. You can talk to people. Now, if nothing exists, if you can't find anything on Google, you can't find anything on Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces, then create a room, create a space. You can literally put a title of what you're trying to accomplish on there, and you don't know who's going to show up. Maybe you can go out and start to meet other people who you see in the room. Send them a message and say, hey, saw you in the room. This is what I got from it. What did you get from it? These are ways that you can initiate conversations with people. If you see a posting of someone that you're following, they're giving good information, leave a comment on the post. You can also look at other people who are commenting on there, go to their socials and post with them. You see what I mean? So in other words, let's say I'm going to pick somebody random in the audience. Let's say we have Fuzzy. I see Fuzzy in the Twitter room. All right. Let's say Fuzzy do a post. You love what Fuzzy have to say about crypto subject. And let's say Chaos left a comment on Fuzzy's, post. You can actually leave a comment on Fuzzy's, leave a comment on Chaos. You see what I mean? People do read their comments. Now, if you have someone like me who have a ton of comments and it's hard to go through and get to all the comments, I still see comments. I still browse through, even if I can't respond to each and every one. But people notice that. They pay attention to that. A lot of times, responding on a thoughtful thing on comments, not just respond, articulate a thought. And someone may get to know you. They may get to see you like, wow, that person's coming. And you know what I mean? These are ways to network. Also, when you go to places and things, this is why it's important to understand what you're good at. Because when you actually bring value wherever you go, like you have information to offer people yourself, then that helps. It starts to show that you have value, that you're not just there to take. You're there to give and take. It's okay to give and take, give and take. That's perfectly okay. All right. Now, here's some other things. When you're getting information from these masterminds, and anyone who wants to come up, just put in the request. I'm going to be getting to those shortly. When you get the information that you're getting from the masterminds and workshops, here's some questions that you can ask yourself. Is there something you can recreate or remix? There's this book by Austin that's called Still Like an Artist. And I know that title may be a little cringy, but it shows you the art of how to take and give, because there's nothing new under the sun. If you really think about it, anything that any of us can say, someone has done or said it before. That's just a fact. But what makes the difference is if you're saying it. If you're saying something, if you're doing something, now it's coming from your view. Maybe you might do something in a way that will reach an audience and strike an audience different than a different person. So don't let that hold you back either. Even if you're like, wow, all these people are already doing this, that's okay. They need to hear your voice. They need to hear what you have to say. It's awesome. All right, another idea you can also look for, are there any associations or organizations in your industry? Like I remember joining like Poets Writers Association. I've joined BMI and ASCAP. I'm part of the Recording Academy. Like these are organizations. So look in your industry. You can go do a search. All this stuff that I just mentioned to you about either Google searching or going on these social audio apps or going on LinkedIn or TikTok or other places, you can actually look for it. Are there any groups or organizations around your industry? Because that will give you some ideas of what's available. That will give you some ideas of what people are doing. Are there any platforms? Usually they have meetups. That's how I found out about a platform called ACX. Amazon bought them out some years ago. And ACX is the platform that you can actually go and audition for audiobooks. Or if you're an author and you have a book and you want people to narrate your book, you can actually list your audiobook on there. And they have two forms of pay. You can get paid through royalties, or you can get paid like a per hour or flat fee. When I did it, I may get back to doing it. I'm just so busy with other things, but I always did royalty shares. I prefer royalty shares. And then if you select to get paid, for any of you who are into the acting world, you can actually get paid what's called a SAG rate, the Screen Actors Guild rate. And if you do one audiobook, just one, that is SAG, pays you on SAG, you can actually become SAG eligible and join the Screen Actors Guild. So for people who are in the acting world, who sees this or hears this, most of the time how you get SAG eligible, how I got SAG eligible, is you have to have a speaking part on a SAG project. It can be a movie, it can be a TV show, but it has to be a SAG project. Or you can be background at least 3 times on a SAG project. Now, it sounds easy, but the challenging piece is, for example, if someone is in SAG wants productions to pick out SAG actors first before they pick a non-SAG actor. That's why it's difficult to get into something like that. But I'm using a real example because everything that I'm explaining here, I've done, and I still do it to this day. You see what I'm saying? So you can also go to Reddit. Reddit is a great forum. There's also this site called Quora. I'll spell it because it sounds weird saying it. Quora. Quora. And what this website is, a lot of people will go there and ask questions. They answer questions. You can put up a question. Hey, are there any platforms or organizations in this industry? And someone may answer you. Someone may not. Maybe you can go in there and give some answers. You see? So there's all kind of things that you can do. Fired Up Freedom will be right back after these messages. Do you ever look for certain services or products and it's just hard to find and you want to know if someone else has used that before? Well, visit my resources page, steveryan.com/resources, steveryan.com/resources. All right, last thing. See, told y'all this will be not that long. Just to recap, we're going over the 3 W's of how to create opportunities in your industry. What are you good at? What's available? And what are some action steps to take? All right, so we're on item number 3 now, the last item. What are some action steps to take? This one is going to be very, very, very short because I've already kind of covered it. All right, what are some non-negotiable regular habits that you can do to chip away at your goals? I talk about this in a book I wrote. I wrote a chapter in. I didn't write the whole book. Called Success Mindsets. I use that word a lot in that chapter. Non-negotiable. What does non-negotiable means? That means you're going to find a way to do it no matter what. You're going to find a way to honor yourself no matter what and carve out and create that time. I don't care if it's 10 minutes. You'll be amazed. Think about this. Let's do it. Let me go off this for a moment. Let's do a calculation for a moment. Let's say you only had 15 minutes, 5 days a week to put in working on your goal. I'm just using a small number. 15 minutes. 15 minutes times 5, that's 75 minutes a week. That's 3,900 minutes a year. What is this in hours? Let's divide this by 6. That's 65 hours of time working on your goal. So 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that's taking 2 days off. It's 65 hours a year. That's like a work week, like a work week and a half. If most people work 40 hours a week, that's a week and a half towards your goals. The point I'm making is it doesn't take that much time to do what you want to do. It doesn't take that much time. Now, of course, you probably will spend more than 15 minutes, but my point is there's no excuse to not make this happen. So now that I've covered these things, what can you do today? I'm putting this down now because I'm about to bring people up. But right now today, think about what you're good at. I'm just doing a quick recap. If you don't know what you're good at, what have people complimented you on? If you don't know that, then start taking a note of it today. Ask some friends and family, or just go start doing some things and hear some feedback. And just remember, if it's like brutal feedback, because that exists, you can still benefit from brutal feedback. If someone gives me brutal feedback, you know what I do? I take it and I say, you know what? Either A or B, okay, maybe I can improve on this, or maybe I caused the reaction and they just responded because of whatever they're going through. But either way, it might be something I'm good at. You get what I mean? Not saying you want that, but it's going to happen. It's no way to avoid negative. It's just a part of life. It's about what you do with the information that comes to you. And then we talked about what's available. How do you find out what's available? You network, organizations, you research. I've given you all this information of where you can go and what you can do. I'm 1,000% confident that each and every person can get some information. You may not get it that same exact day, but if you do it long enough, it will happen. I strongly believe in the power of manifestation. For those who can see my facial expression, I'm looking you in your face. I strongly believe in that power of manifestation. It is powerful. I've seen this work over and over and over in my life, like all of my adult life, just all throughout my life. Like no one in this planet can convince me that it doesn't exist. Not one person. I've seen the power of it over and over and over and over again. So I know this works. I know it works. Now, what may not work is you want it in this amount of time. Okay, it comes quicker for some people. Some people it takes longer. But taking these action steps, you're going to find opportunities. It's no way to miss it. You're going to find it. All of us start from a clean slate. I wasn't born knowing all this information. None of us was. We all started as babies. One of the things that I learned very early on is how to listen to my intuition, how to listen to my gut, how to listen to my voice, even if the whole world is saying something different. That's what I've learned. And that helps me because we get all this information, then it's hard to know what to process, who to listen to, what to listen to. And that's why knowing how to listen to your voice, which I believe we've covered that, and if we haven't, we will be doing a room on that, is so crucial. It's so important. All right, this has been awesome. So let's get some people up. All right, I see Donovan has requested to come up. All right, so let's just get you up here. All right, invite to speak. There we go. And if anyone wants to come up on the Spaces side, just send a request. If not, you're fine. Hey, Donovan, how's it going?
It's going great, Steve. Great room, great topic, and great opportunity here to get to connect with you and anybody else listening now or in the future.
Awesome. Well, what do you think about the topic so far, or any comments, questions, suggestions?
Yeah, well, I just ran through and thought about, what I'm good at and what's available to me and what the action steps are. And so, for me, I think it's important to deepen relationships. So I think that's what's always available to us. And I crossed your path because you came into a community just a little bit after that I did within the draft community and with Gary Henderson. And that's one of his big core ideas is deepening relationship. And I've just seen that is pivotal, to just when you get to know somebody, they don't really know you. We were talking about the Clubhouse app earlier, and they just kind of rotate that around, and it changes all the time. And it's the same thing here with us. I do change my own icon or the personal or the profile picture a little bit just between two, but I always keep my traffic light there because that's what I'm good at. I'm good at identifying the stress level of others, especially students, and then I'm good at helping to figure out what you do based on one of these three stress levels. So I always have that in there, whether I have my draft picture or whether I have my regular picture. That's my brand. I created a system and got really, really good at discerning what to do and what not to do based on, the emotional stress levels of kids and, making sure they stay safe. So that's one of the biggest, easiest things that I've become incredibly good at over 20 years serving families as a school counselor and now a coach. And so I put that on my profile picture every time. So that's the one thing that's consistent. My face may change, but, my big brand idea does not change. So I think that's what I want to put out there all the time that I'm good at. What's available to me is a room like this to really build the relationships, to share my voice. I think telling why we do what we do. For me, I just want to keep kids safe for starters. And then from there, when we look at planning their future out, I really want to help them create the kind of fulfilling future they want. So those are the kind of things for me to keep consistent with as well. And then action steps, I'm doing it right now, as I said. And then, there's other opportunities to speak and post and deepen relationship in communities. So those are some of my thoughts, Steve.
Oh, that is awesome. So question for you, and welcome everyone to the room. We're live on multiple platforms right now. We're on Clubhouse, Twitter Space, TikTok. This will be streaming to LinkedIn and some other places as well. And so far, what we've been talking about is creating opportunities in your industry. I spent about 20 minutes or so going over some pointers. Donovan has come up. Fuzzy has come up. If anyone else wants to come up as well, just go ahead and send in the request. And if not, when they're done, I'll share some final words and we'll wrap up. Hey, Fuzzy, how you doing, man?
Hey, good morning. Glad to see you're okay. The room was scheduled an hour early. Yeah, we were a bit concerned something happened to you, but good to see you. The points you made are great, because like in the days of old, before social audio, I would always just go on like meetup.com or Eventbrite and just go to lots of things. I just like going to events and meeting people. I never used to see it as networking because I didn't really know that's what it was. They weren't like businessy things. But yeah, I agree with you said so many things. It was like a marathon. but yeah, I mean, like one really good thing I found that I feel like with the social audio, and maybe people with a social anxiety kind of thing, when I would go to actual like business networking things, those always felt really terrible because like very transactional, like hey, take my card, whatever. But where, with the social audio, we're building relationships with people all the time, and it just feels more organic, more genuine, and that's been like one big advantage to that. But yeah, I just wanted to echo some of the things that you were saying earlier.
Oh, I love what you just said, the transactional. That's actually going to be a room in a space one day about transactional versus transformational. Just giving me goosebumps. and a lot of times, you're absolutely right. Some of these business meetups can be like that, but a lot of times when you're a member or you come across the club like Gary Club or organizations that you find on like LinkedIn or in your industry, it can give you the opportunity to build those relationships. And that can actually change transactional to transformational. Maybe maybe that's not the right club for you, or it's a different club for you that's great for you. So those are some awesome points. We have so much at our fingertips now. It's just so amazing. Like even 10 years ago, This wasn't available. Like 10 years ago, what I had to do, all these things I mentioned, I had to actually get on the plane, do rental cars, do hotels. And I mean, not saying anything is wrong with this. I still love meeting people, but it wasn't as easy to just hop on and meet people like this. At the time it was Skype. I remember Skype before Zoom, and you went through so much. You had to spend money. You had to travel and spend time. Now you can connect around the world. All these people in the room, all these people in the spaces, everybody's from everywhere right now. So this is awesome. Tomorrow we're going to be having a room called How Do You Know When and How to Set Boundaries? The Clubhouse one is already available. I'll be sending out a tweet as well shortly that I will pin up. That's the room tomorrow. I want to give space for one last opportunity for anyone else who wants to come in and chime in. If not, we will wrap this up. I'm good whether we go 30 minutes or 1 hour. Either way, we're good. Fired Up Freedom will be right back after these messages. Do you ever look for certain services or products and it's just hard to find and you want to know if someone else has used that before? Well, visit my resources page, steveryan.com/resources, steveryan.com/resources.
Yeah, Steve, I think you were saying you had a follow-up question for me, and I was just like,
oh, yes, I'm so sorry. See how my mind jumps around? Yeah, Donovan, I was going to ask for you, the question about how do you know what you're good at? How did you address that? How did you discover what you were good at? What was your process?
yeah, that's a good question. I actually had somebody say, that I've got this idea of resume 2.0 where Generation Z, it's going to be an expectation that they've got good brand identity out there going into the work world. And somebody said to me, wow, that's really second nature to you, or that comes really naturally to you. And it's not true. I literally went into the English teacher's office back in 2012 and I said, look, I've figured some very important things out for humanity, but I have no idea how to tell anybody. And so that was how the process began. I went into an English teacher's room and just met with him for coffee yesterday. So this has been a decade-long project to get good at helping people figure out who they are and what they want to do, and then actually put together a platform, or their Instagram, or there's another company called Zeme that creates academic social media for kids. So helping them figure out their Zeme and how to present themselves to the world was something that I was atrocious at that 10 years ago. So I literally had to just go talk to an English teacher and go back to square one, because I had a big why. I had a message to get out to the world. And so my process was just going to a resource, which is, an English teacher. And then from there, honing that craft for 10 years, just day after day after day, week after week, month after month. Just like your thoughts bounce all around, my thoughts bounce all around. That's always been one of my nemesis inside of my own skin, is my just ability to bounce all over the place. So trying to rein that in and getting better at reining that in and getting better at being on point about, being the team takeoff coach, being somebody that's here for Generation Z. That is a 10-year project, Steve. And though it might seem like second nature or a talent at this point, when I help other people do that, it is not a talent or second nature. It's starting to become more second nature, but it was a long project.
Oh, that was it. See, this is why I love other people coming up and saying something, because everyone's point of view is awesome. Look at what Donovan just said. Look, and for those who can't see Donovan, I'm going to hold him up on the screen. This is Donovan right here, up speaking right there. See, that's Donovan. I'm holding up on both cameras. I have two cameras going. Like I said, we are on multiple places right now. And what he just mentioned was, it wasn't second nature at first, but eventually it became second nature. So that's another thing. What if you can't identify something that you're good at? What if you, or let's say you enjoy something, but you haven't gotten good at it yet. You can learn. This is where networking and practicing and even if I'm going to use the word fail, it's okay. You can fail 1,000 times. If you keep getting up every single time, that moment that you get that win, it negates all that 1,000 times. That 1,000 times would have just been the building blocks. I like to think of the light bulb. You know, how so many times it was tried and it didn't work, it didn't work, it didn't work, and it didn't work. But look at it now. Look at how much it's contributed to the world now. Can you imagine not having a light bulb or lights? And how many hours people, you know, they tried over and over in history, like to make this stuff work. And now we benefit from it. So what Donovan just said is super awesome. So thank you so much for Donovan. Thank you so much for that, Donovan. That was good. That was good. And I see we have BB up here on the Twitter side. Hey, BB, how are you?
Morning. I'm great. I'm working and listening. Also,
That's awesome. So same question for you. How did like you are amazing at art. Like BB, she's an artist. She just now is about to open up a tattoo shop. We talked about that. She got a grant from the government, and she also works with Freedom full time. So she works with us full time, have been for some time now. She's our full time artist. So she does graphics, art. Like she is amazing. Like, how did you know when you were good at art? Like, where did you start?
yeah, I started when first time I started drawing when I was 3 years old. But nobody is good on that age. But at school, after when I started going to school, my drawings or paintings were always, they put on the walls, and the teacher's always gonna tell you like this is good, and also how to say, not only my family but people who know me, they ask. Even since I was a child, they asked to help them also with their own art projects. So that was, I never believed that I'm that good, because I think that was not what I expected from me. But it take really long time to start believing in that, to trust.
Wow, that's true. And so for you, let me take you to something. I know I asked you about your tattoo shop, and you mentioned that you started doing tattoos in 2019. So what made you transform to that? Like at what point in your mind was it like, I'm going to do tattoos? Like, did you just practice on people? Like, how did that start for you?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I always liked tattoos, but I had this really huge phobia of needles.
Ooh.
So I never planned to do tattoos, because I don't know. I was thinking it's I'm gonna just fell down, but I had so many friends who was always like telling me you should start tattooing, because I don't know, in US probably most of them are artists, but in my country there are really rare tattoo artists who are artists before they become tattoo artists, so they learn after, but they're still, when you see the tattoos, it's not art. You can see that they were not artists before. So it was really long time. Even my brother, because he wants free tattoos for sure, and he was always pushing me like, you should start tattooing. But in 2019, I was living in Malta, and I find a tattoo shop who is giving courses. So I said I'm gonna try. It was really expensive, but I said I'm gonna try, because I cannot start doing by myself. There are so many things you need to learn. And when I started, I think even after the first tattoo, the person who was teaching me, he was like, "Oh my God, this is so amazing!" And he even offered me a job. He said, "When you finish the course and everything, if if you want, you can start working for me. So that's make, that gives me so self-confidence because he has so much experience in that. That's
Wow.
the story.
That is so awesome. And so for those of you listening, look at what BB went through. So her friends told her that, oh, why don't you think about being a tattoo artist? She wasn't thinking about being a tattoo artist. Then what did she do? She went and invested in herself. She went and took a school for the tattoo and learned. And now she's about to own a tattoo shop. Go ahead, BB. But you see what I mean? These 3 steps that I just mentioned is nothing new. All this information I just told you, someone has said it somewhere before in their own kind of way. The only thing I'm doing is presenting it in my way and bundling it up. 3 easy steps, 3 W's. Boom. What are you good at? What's available? What are action steps you can take? Boom. See, my goal of doing these, why am I doing this regularly now? My goal is to take the mystery out of doing things so that you can achieve. You can achieve. Can't does not have to exist in your vocabulary. Can't can become can. You can do this. This is what freedom is about. This is what we're about. Turning can't into can. Now, I know I do see 360. I'll get you in just one moment. If you look I'll put it on Clubhouse too shortly, but on the Twitter side, you can see the spaces that are coming up. I pinned it up to the top and it'll show you the upcoming spaces just to give you a preview of what's coming up this week. Today, we talked about creating opportunities in your industry. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about how do you know when and how to set boundaries. Wednesday, how does your self-language, this is a good one, impact your mindset? How does your self-language, that's the languaging that you use, the languaging for yourself. Thursday, how do you handle other people's energy? That's super important. And Friday, how can you expand your brand without burning out? Oh, these are going to be some good topics this week. These are going to be some great, awesome topics. I'm looking so forward to it. As I bring 360 up, I'll go on the Clubhouse side and put up tomorrow's room as well. Told you can do either side, Clubhouse, Twitter. I see some people have come from the space and jumped on TikTok. I'll say hi to everybody in just a minute at the end. All right, I'm going to bring 360 up. I'm not sure if you've been in the room, but one second, let me bring you. But what we've talked about so far is creating opportunities in your industry. So let's bring you up here. All right. And we are going to stop the room at the top of the hour if we don't finish before then. So we don't have to go for hours and hours. Hey, 360, welcome.
Good morning, Steve. I know I'm coming in towards the end, and it's because of my following Donovan that I found you, and I'm grateful for that. That's for sure. Based on the topics you have. I am a mental performance coach, just to give everybody an idea of my background, and I resonate strongly with the topic of discussion of the 3 W's, as you call them. I work with both professional and amateur athletes, and in that space, recently, there's a lot of talk about what does my career look like once I leave my sport, and how do I figure that out? So your 3 W's can be very effective for those collegiate athletes as students, because they have so many choices. Once you get past the 3 W's, especially the what, they're looking at things like name, image, and likeness. It's also known as NIL, or they're looking at transfer portal. I don't have to stay at the college that I'm at right now if I don't feel like I'm getting due credit or time on the field. It's such an interesting world we live in these days, because technology has given us both great opportunity as well as a labyrinth of confusion that's many times camouflaged by people who have less than good intents. So for me, I'm constantly deciphering and filtering out what is a pathway that's legit and sincere and will represent who I am the best way that I can pursue it. So quickly, Steve, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for my friendship with Donovan, and really want to compliment BB on your courage, and you're taking steps forward into a space that has attracted you to to be more creative than you probably ever imagined yourself to be, especially with that fear of needles. That kind of surprised me. So I'm grateful for the time and coming on the end. I'll be following you from here on out. Thank you. That makes me complete.
Oh, thank you. Look at that, Donovan. You got a person you impacted here on the other app. So you're over on Clubhouse. This guy is over on Twitter Spaces. So that's see, that's the power of networking and platforms. That's the power of this. That's so awesome. And speaking of that, just to go back to that, I meant to ask you about that, BB. How the fear of needles, like since you're using needles, how did you overcome the fear of that? I totally meant to ask you that.
Yes, I was always feeling down. When I get sick, in the ambulance they cannot give me injections because I was just feeling down. But once I was in Greece and I get really sick, probably I don't know, and I get two injections in one day. From
Wow.
the pain and everything, you just forget about everything. And then I said, oh my God, I'm not afraid anymore. And now when I'm tattooing, I really don't, I'm not afraid. I'm just, it's normal.
Wow. That is so awesome.
Running from myself at times I can't describe the words I try.